Okay, today is our 86th week. That's something. 86 weeks that we have gathered, with the exception of that one Christmas day that we didn't. Something. So a couple of reminders. One is today is the new moon. And for those of you who follow the moon cycle, you know that this is a day of emptiness, which means it's a day for filling ourselves with that which serves us. So what a beautiful day for setting intentions, for acknowledging the self-care rituals that you want to include in your life, for just feeling you are a picture of love and abundance and compassion, and let's fill it with the little tools that are helpful for us. New moon. It's something to follow our moon cycles as they relate to just the movement as women. We're so connected to the moon, and it really offers us an opportunity to be more in sync with our own movement, our own rhythm. And it's present, it's there every night. We can go out and look and see what it's doing. It's really magical. The moon is magic, so divine feminine, so water, so luxurious, and so unchy and juicy and fabulous. So happy new moon. And then tomorrow, as those of you who are able to know, but I'm just reminding everyone that we are having a satsang and a little drumming and perhaps some meditation here at my house from 4:30 to 7. And everyone's invited, and anyone you want to bring. All women are invited and included. So please bring guests if you have people you think would enjoy that time together. And as Siddhi and I mentioned in our check-in, we do have a plan to be doing the same thing in Southern California, in Santa Barbara, for those friends of ours there. We don't want to leave you out, but it won't happen before I leave for India and Siddhi leaves for Europe, just given our timing. So when we both return, we will make the effort and plan to do that, so that you can all be gathering as well. It is so luxurious to gather in person. There's just, we have really accomplished a lot as a humanity, not just us in our circle, in being able to really connect and to finding our energetic connections online. It's really something. I don't think 2 years ago, most of us would have said we can't have the depth or the breadth or the experience of one another in this way. Sure, we'll meet and we can share information, but we can't share spirit. And it's turned out that's just not true. So what a great leap for us to acknowledge that there is more than one way for us to share the depth of ourselves, and that it in person is the juiciest place, of course, but we are operating on so many different levels that we're both apparent, and we notice and we don't notice. And the energetic is often the one we're less apparent, it's less apparent to us. We see the physicality when we're together, but energetically, we sometimes miss that. So now we've seen and experienced that we can be energetically connected just by a visual of one another. It's really cool. Okay, so today I want to say that the one question that I am asked the most often of any spiritual question is, how do I quiet my monkey mind? That's the question that comes up all the time. My mind is taking off on its own journey and I cannot harness it. So I want to talk about that today. It's interesting. The term monkey mind actually came from the Buddhist tradition, not as a sacred term, but just that the mind is such a piece of the teachings and the sadhana that's Buddhist, that looking at how the mind moves about, they came up with the idea that it's a monkey hopping around and it's very hard to harness and to capture. So I want to talk about that today, because I think that for me, the monkey mind, which refers to an unsettled mind or a restless mind or a repetitive mind, replaying the same stories, the same fears, the same inequities in your life that you just cannot come to terms with, a constant preoccupation with movement. Your mind wants to move. So your mind is doing its own movement, and it often relates to it having you move. So you find yourself restless with picking up, putting down, moving, correcting, changing, shifting. And it's all in almost a frenetic way rather than in a conscious movement. And your mind, the monkey mind, sets us into a lot of what ifs. What if I hadn't said that? What if I had showed up differently? What if I had worn a different, at whatever? What if I told them something different? How would things have been different? So we're replaying a situation that can never be corrected because it's in the past. And our mind loves, the monkey mind loves to be in the past, and it loves to be in the fear of the future. What could go wrong? It's not at all interested in you experiencing the present and just having a nice time. It really does not want to be in the present moment. The reason that this is so important is because to me, it's an indication of something about our spiritual journey. It indicates to me that we are out of alignment with our inner world and our outer world. So most of us, we're conscious, we're here, we're spending time on our spirit journey. We have an internal knowing and a longing and a desire to come into this balance of balancing our external world of form and movement and action with our internal world of a little more stillness and spaciousness and creativity and the knowing of our purpose and the knowing of how we're living that into the world and how we're offering ourselves into the world. And when those two worlds are not integrated and woven together, there is an opportunity for the monkey mind to go crazy because it doesn't feel that it has footing. So your mind is always looking for, I'm unstable. My world is not quite balanced. It's not balanced. When we're in our inner world, we're in this place where we're aligned with our truest offering or participation in the world, whatever it is. All of us are offering something into the world, but we aren't always acknowledging that to ourselves. So when we come into alignment, we start to see, oh, these are the ways that I can change the world. It may be in my immediate family circle. It might be in the school that my children are in. It might be my grandchildren. It might be an offering to teach it, whatever it is. But that when we come into alignment with that, we start to have an exploration of our inner world that balances how that service is actually informed in the outer world. So now we're balancing the two. We're bringing forth the inspiration of our service, and then we're manifesting it in the actual form of the physical world. So being in that inner world is where we connect with our generosity. It's where we connect with our compassion. It's where we connect with the love and laughter and joy that is intrinsically us, regardless of external circumstances. It's where we feel buoyant and juicy and full of possibility and hopeful. So if we don't find time to sit in that inner world, then we're missing out on all of that, which supports the craziness of the external world, which we're here in form. We're not going to debate that we shouldn't be that, or that we should sit on a cushion 12 hours a day and meditate. The hardest thing to do is to live in the world of form in a way that you're integrating your internal strength and power and knowingness and intuition into this external world, because those paths can feel like they are too far apart. So weaving them together is our goal. It's our aim. If we can weave them together, we quiet down the mind because we have a sense of being settled. And when we feel settled, and we feel in alignment with the universe in just how we are showing up, then we don't have to have a dialogue going on in our mind, and the mind settles down. When we're in an imbalance between our internal world and our external world, we feel a lot of external pressure by what culture or society is telling us. We are less able to just make our own decision about what we want to do. We look outside for validation. And the validation that is in alignment with our truth is an internal validation. It's not an external. We tend to live in a place where there are more stories that we're making up. We're replaying things. We're playing things into the future. We're spending a lot of time outside of the present. It's a place where we're spending a lot of time reliving grief. Grief is a process that doesn't ever leave you, but it is a process that ebbs and flows. And when we sit in it, it's very hard to dig out of grief by yourself. And when our mind is keeping us there, grief of loss, we're losing things every day, whether it's a person or it's a freedom or it's a mindset or it's a health issue, our body starts behaving differently. All of these are losses. It's a shedding off. We shed and slough off skin every day. The skin cells, the skin's drying up, dropping off. We are changing and moving in our physical way every day. And hopefully in our mental way, hopefully we are having a more conscious way of our thought process. So there's always a loss. Loss is part of the integral part of being in the human form. And yet we tend to push it away. We don't want to lose things, instead of embracing that the process of evolution is a losing. That's what happens, and not looking at that as a negative term. But when we live in imbalance, we see it as a threat. When we live in balance, we see it as the beauty of the unfolding. It's the flower that unfolds into the beautiful blossom, and then the leaves and the flower petals drop off and they become compost for the next flower that's going to come up. We're part of that process. But it's harder for us to know that when our monkey mind is moving in a really quick speed, which it does. The ego is the seat of the monkey mind, because the ego is always concerned about immediate survival. Survival of self, survival of your story, survival of your habits, your patterns. It does not want you to blossom because it's comfortable where it is, because the ego's main goal and the main aim of the ego is to serve you when you're in clear and present danger. And then it gets so excited about that it starts to move outside of that capacity to sort of managing your whole life. We need ego to keep us safe. It helps with our physicality when we're in dangerous situations, but we don't need the ego to drag us into our past or to drag us into the future. We only need the ego in the present moment when there's a danger, because it will preserve us, because that's its goal. Survival of self is its goal. But it also then moves into the survival of old stories and habits and patterns that it doesn't want to let go of. So it gets entangled with some of what's useful and some of what isn't. So we have to harness the ego. We're not trying to suppress it or to get rid of it. We're trying to harness it, because when we harness it, then we can use it. It's like, Sadhguru always says the phone is the most, wonderful thing in the world. It does so much for us, but we have to know when to put it down. It doesn't put itself down. None of our electronics are going to turn themselves off so that we have some peace and quiet. We have to take the responsibility for that. So let's look at ways that we can harness this monkey mind and ways that we can integrate these two lives, these two aspects of our life, so that the monkey mind doesn't have as much opportunity to rise up. So one of the important qualities for us to stay in a decreased monkey mind setting is presence, being present here and now, because that's the place where the ego doesn't have any activation, and it's the place where the monkey mind has less opportunity to work. It doesn't have, in the present moment, it only has what's happening there. It doesn't have the vault of old stories from your past or the vault of stories that you're making up about the future. It only has what's happening. If you're truly in the present moment, you only have what's happening around you in that moment to be living into. So being present, having a consciousness about, in every moment, I'm trying to be present, deeply present in what's here. And that means smelling, tasting, hearing, sensing, the juiciness of all of our senses in this physical embodiment, using the juiciness of our senses to really be here. Sheila always says, when we write, that we want to write from the senses of when you were in a particular space or a particular experience, not just what happened. That's so dry. These 8 things happened, but what was happening and how you were physically in your senses bouncing up against what was happening. What did you take away that was being part of your cellular experience, not just a mental going down, this happened, this happened, this happened. Something else happened inside of you in that moment. How do we live into the spaces and the times that are present for us in that really deep and powerful way? And it's a practice, it's a discipline of talking to yourself about when you go forward or backwards with your mind, of simply saying, no, I'm not going to think about that right now. Just simply not going to think about that right now. Distract yourself. Distraction is a fabulous tool. We all used it while we were raising kids. If you don't want them to do something, you go find something more fun, 10 feet away, and they'll come right on over. You don't have to say no or drag something away from them or do anything. You just have to go somewhere else near enough they can see you that looks really fun. So if we can distract our minds when our mind wants to go somewhere by what is really surrounding, what am I smelling right now? What are the colors that are around me? How are those colors impacting me? Take yourself on a journey of your senses rather than allowing your ego and your monkey mind to just drag you down some hole. Take yourself on a journey of your senses. It'll bring you back into the present. Notice the colors and the textures and the shapes. Can you remember everything that was in the picture of the space you were in that moment? Do you remember the different shades of green that were in the plants and flowers around you, or the stepping stones you stepped on, or the room you were in? How many lamps were in that room? What did it look like? How many books were lying out? Have you read that book? Take yourself into the present that's surrounding you and have that experience in every level you can, because that keeps you in the present. The more you practice being in the present, the more simply it will come to you. It'll be a natural state for you rather than a state you have to endeavor to get into. You'll start living in that space. And the more you expand that, the more the past and the future diminish themselves and they become just a memory in your long-term memory, or something that you have a pleasure that you have coming up for you. The anticipation of the unknown is a beautiful thing. So we don't want to extinguish that. It's beautiful to imagine into, we're going to have, there's so much that's coming in this day for us, in this day, not even next week or next month. In this day, what's showing up for us that we don't even know is going to show up is so exquisite. But we don't have to label it. The stopping of us labeling what we expect in our anticipation of what we think is going to come up will help keep us in the present. I can be as easily excited about the unknown of what's coming as I can about setting up some particulars that I think are going to happen and then living into the disappointment that they didn't. Even though actually something better came, I'm still in disappointment. I had anticipated this and this didn't come. We have to stop that. What that also does for us is it stops us from judgment. When we're living in anticipation of a specific thing, we're in judgment. And judgment doesn't take us anywhere we want to be except back into our ego. So distraction is good. Talking to ourselves, talking to yourselves about, chronicle what you see and what you're experiencing around. Speak out loud. Your voice is very powerful for you to hear. Talk about what it is that you're experiencing in this moment. Have your own dialogue with yourself. It doesn't have to be an internal dialogue. It can be an external dialogue. Write notes to yourself. Put Post-it notes around about the beautiful experiences you're having. Remind yourself of how powerful it is to live in this embodied form, in the present of this embodied form. And practice asking yourself if the situation that your mind is bringing up, if it's true. Is this reality, or am I making up a story out of either hope or fear, but not out of reality? We have to live in reality. From that, we can make choices and decisions of how we want our life to move forward. And that from reality, we manifest. It's wonderful to have ideas of heightened possibility. But when you live in those to a degree that you're disappointed when that's not what happens, then you've just set up another hurdle for yourself. But we still want to be open. We want to be open to possibility and the unknown, not the known. The unknown. The unknown is so much bigger than the known. So much bigger. We cannot manifest the unknown if we try to give a label to it, because we're then containing it in a way that's probably not possible. What we can manifest is so much bigger than what we can articulate. We have to live in the unknown. Live in that space and let your ego and your monkey mind be not in that space with you, and integrate this inner knowing and intuitive nature and experiences that we're trying to have in the present moment with the external world that we're living in. Walk in that integration and in that beautiful weaving together of your life. So this week, I want to hear back from you that you are in the present moment as much as you can be every day, and that you experience the beauty of what was happening around you and coming through you in that present moment that was not related to a past experience, not a comparison, and not related to something you hope happens in the future that it's repeated. It's a separate, unique moment, every moment is. It'll never be exactly the same, ever, never. However it's experienced, if we use it in contrast, we're never going to live into the same moment. Just be in this moment. Please.
Well, honey, that's a lot to digest. Okay. So I was tuning in while you were speaking, and what came up for me is the easiest tool to be in the present is our breath. Yeah, because it always can bring us home. And the monkey mind is extremely active if our organs are extremely active, if they're irritated through emotional upheaval in our life. So ultimately all comes back to the air element. Yeah, if the air element is really strong and overactive, the monkey mind will just be like all over the place. So I thought we start with movement and consciousness bringing actually the air down. Yeah, because it's hard to be present if your first energy center is off balance, because you will be scattered and you will be all over the place and you will be a lot in doubt and insecurity, which the monkey mind loves. So let us imagine we pull the energy from the around us actually up. We inhale up, we bring our arms up, we interlace our fingers overhead, and then we exhale very slowly down, as if we pull the energy from above down into our first chakra. Separate your hands, inhale up. And you can even exhale through the open mouth, like I like to envision that I inhale, I bring the energy up, I inhale through my crown, and I exhale out of my perineum. And see that you're slowing down the movement, slowing down your breath. Because the slower your breath, the more relaxed is your nervous system. And then you can be more present. Last 3. Last one. And then I'd like you to keep your eyes closed and you rest your hands on your knees or your thighs, palms facing down. Stay here for a minute. Just by touching your knees or your thighs, you're regulating your nervous system. You're stabilizing your first chakra, your first energy center. You strengthen your earth. You regulate your breath. And then we gently open our eyes. So this is our center. Yeah, when Nirmala says be present, we want to be present from our center, our hara. So now we bring our arms out to the side and we exhale, and we have the tip of our thumbs and the tip of our index finger touch when we touch our hara. So the palms fully touch, but there's a triangle. We balance the fire by touching the thumb tips, and we balance the air. These are the troublemakers for our monkey mind. Yeah. So we inhale, we expand our arms out to the side, palms facing forward. Exhale slowly, as if you bring the energy down here right into your center. Inhale, open. Arms out parallel to the floor. Exhale. Bring the triangle mudra, so to speak, down below your belly button. That's where your thumb tips touch. It's like as if you're coming home to yourself. Because if the monkey mind is active, you're not at home. You're cruising, but you're not in stillness. You're not centered. Let's do 3 more. Last one. And then after this one, you keep the mudra below your belly button and you just keep your eyes closed and you connect. Breathe into your hands. You exhale towards your spine. And follow your breath with your awareness so that your monkey mind can be a little busy. It gets a little to do. But the monkey mind also really depletes our brain functions. It uses up a lot of oxygen. Good, and then we just gently open our eyes. First, we interlace all fingers and cross our thumbs over each other. Now I want you to extend your pinkies and they touch. And you extend your index finger, the pointer fingers, and they touch. So middle and ring fingers are still bent, thumbs are crossing, pinkies and index fingers are extended. And you keep this mudra right here at your solar plexus. You tuck your chin just slightly, keeping a soft gaze to the tip of your index fingers. On the inhalation, you bring your arms up to 60 degrees in front of you, or a little higher. Still continue looking at the tip of your index fingers. Exhale and bring your chin slightly back and down. Inhale up. But it's a nice soft gaze. This is the mudra that renews our brain energy. Make sure you lift your head slightly. Not too much. You don't want to bring your head all the way back and decrease the flow of energy in your neck. You just want to activate. This is a great mudra if you feel unfocused. Unfocused means the monkey mind is busy. It's a great mudra to share with our children if they have a little focus energy in school or in general. Let's do 3 more. And then we keep our mudra right here, tucking our chin just slightly, keeping a soft gaze to the tip of our index finger, long, deep breathing. You can follow your inflow and the outflow of your breath. But as a last movement, I'd like us to open our hands. So when you sit on the chair like I am, you have your feet solidly on the ground. If you sit on the floor, your legs are cross-legged and you hold on to the ankle in front. If you sit on the chair, your hands are on your thighs, the fingertips pointing slightly towards each other. We want to inhale and arch our spine forward. Exhale and round back. So what we're doing now is such a simple Kundalini exercise. The spinal flex allows the Kundalini energy to move from the base up, so that we activate all the chakras, because the monkey mind sits in every organ. If it sits in our kidneys, it expresses fear. If it sits in our adrenal glands, it expresses through stress. In our liver, through anger and impatience. In our spleen or gallbladder and indecisiveness. In our heart, there can be sadness, grief, resentment. In the lungs, resentment. In our stomach, the monkey mind can express itself through upsets. So in this nice movement, we actually stimulate all the organs. Let's just do it a little bit more. You don't have to go fast. Find a good steady pace. Connect to your inside. In this one, it's great to keep the eyes closed so you can feel more. Let's do 3 more. And then we come sitting. And I shared yesterday a mudra with one of my clients. That's really great, especially worry. When we worry, the monkey mind is in action. So we want to get that under control. So you take your left hand, your left thumb is extended. You wrap all your fingers and your thumb of your right hand first around your left thumb. Then the left hand rests on the right fist. You bring this mudra up, and now you swing your right thumb in between the knuckles of your thumb and your index finger. So you're really wrapping around your left thumb. It's always the left thumb. We're not, for this mudra, we are not doing the other side. Yeah, because it's the lung meridian from the heart going down here. So you're going to stay here. And I like to have this mudra really solidly against my solar plexus. I drop my shoulder and I allow myself to release all my worries. And in this mudra, we are starting our mantra. Whoops, that's the wrong version. So you have to hang in there. Hold on to your mudra. No worries. There it is.
Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme
We're gently bringing our hands into prayer pose. Take a deep inhale. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Thank you so much for coming for each other to this morning. Have a beautiful week.